everyone, and welcome back to the Notes and Quotes podcast. I'm really, really happy to have you guys here. And if you're new, welcome to the community. It's an honor to have you join us. So, one of the things that I think everyone in their 20s, but really and truly everyone, to be honest, but uniquely for people in their 20s, struggle with is like the fear of money, the stress with money, the stress about financial literacy, the yearn for financial independence. I think that's something we all stress about, especially in your 20s, because we're just coming into adulthood and we never really had the formal education to give us, knowledge about financial literacy. So we're all just kind of wading in the water trying to figure out how to become financially independent. And it's this constant stress for everyone. So that's why I thought I wanted to do an episode that centers around financial literacy, attaining it, and attaining financial independence. And I was looking high and wide for like a guest that was probably like a big professional, some expert in the field, and none of them really appealed to me to give me that sense of like relatability, something that would be down to earth, something that feels like attainable. So I thought maybe I should look a little closer to home and maybe I should look for somebody who can actually talk on our level, somebody who is our age. And then I realized that I do have access to probably a very special guest. All of my guests are special guests, but this one is particularly special because we're related. So, so I am now going to introduce you guys to Brandon Cambridge. So Brandon is an American professional soccer player for Charlotte FC. And because you're my cousin, I never asked you for for your bio. So tell the audience what you want to tell them about yourself.
All right, all right. First of all, thank you, Cuzzo, for having me on.
Of course.
Honored to be here. Basically, I'm Brandon Cambridge. I'm a Major League Soccer player for Charlotte FC, and yeah, here to talk and engage in some good conversations today.
Awesome. And one of the things I feel like you didn't even mention is that you're kind of like a stock market enthusiast. Like you're always posting stuff about investments and like crypto and all this stuff. So, when did you get into all of that?
I've always been kind of fascinated with the idea of growing money
Mm,
with little to no effort. So I would say that I started kind of researching the stock market freshman year in college, but
okay.
the only issue was I was in college, so I had no capital to put in.
Yeah.
But I think it was good to kind of look into it then because I could get a feel for it without, risking any money into things that I didn't know what I was doing at the time. In
Right.
terms of crypto, I got really, really big into crypto the start of this year. So
Cool. Why crypto?
just kind of the same thing. Like I said, I believe that your money should always be working for you and getting the most returns that you can.
Yeah,
And crypto was really appealing because of the extreme gains you can get on it in such short periods of time.
fair, makes sense. But why do you think like so many people that are in their 20s or just young adults in general kind of struggle with money?
I think a lot of times that happens because one, people think, oh, I don't have enough money to put in to get a decent enough return.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a bad way to go about it because regardless of how much money you have, over time, if you're putting in $10 a day, $10 every 2 days, that eventually is going to compound. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something that people can't grasp. And also, I also think that people have spending problems. I mean, we are in our 20s. There's clubs, there's bars, there's vacations that people want to do. And
Yeah.
it seems appealing to just kind of spend all that money and live your 20s up. But, when we get to 30, 40, could be
Yeah.
looking back at that like it was not the greatest decision. So,
Yeah. I feel like that leads me perfectly into like, I want to know what your financial philosophy is. So, if anybody is unaware, the way that we do things on the Notes and Quotes podcast is we always form the foundation of the conversation based on a quote. The guest always gets to choose the quote. So, what's your quote for today?
I actually have two quotes.
Okay. All right. Over
The first
prepared.
one is wealth is not measured by how much you have,
Mm.
but it's measured by how you use it.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is the same way. that I was talking about how some people think that they don't have enough to invest, which just
Okay.
isn't true. It's not measured by how much you have, it's by how you use it. If you use your money and you just keep compounding that interest, compound interest is it's a crazy thing. Eventually, 3, 4, 5 years down from the road, you're going to be like, wow, you know what? That was worth it.
Yeah.
The second one that I have is something that I use personally when looking at markets
Hmm.
is it sounds cliche and pretty simple, but it is. When in doubt, zoom out.
Okay,
And
what do you mean by that?
what I mean by that is sometimes when you're buying into a stock or a crypto, the next day you might see a red day. You might see
Hmm.
a 5%, or if it's crypto, up to 20 sometimes.
Mm.
Stock market, maybe a 1, 2% pullback.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can get attached to your money, so that can be mentally and psychologically a little draining seeing that. But the
Hmm.
reality is zoom out a little bit, hit the 1 month calendar, hit the 1 year calendar, see how much your stock or your crypto's up.
Mm.
If your stock or your crypto's up 60, 40% in the month, in the year, whatever it is, you got to understand that that 5% retracement, that's a
Yeah.
buying opportunity. That's a
Yeah.
discount. Because the reality is it could keep going up and you have to buy it higher. Why not
Hmm.
buy it lower? And I think that's where a lot of people also get confused is they want to keep buying high,
Hmm.
where reality you want to buy low, sell high. And
Right.
people do the opposite because of the psychological effects that it can take on you to actually buy low. It's uncertainty in the
Hmm.
market. So,
Makes sense. Okay, so I've got like a few questions circling around in my head, and I want to like jump back to the psychological aspect of it and like the mental, where you need to be mentally to like attain that financial independence. But first, for people who might not like fully know, because there's a lot of people I think who, because it's not something that is generally encouraged, like stock market investments and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of propaganda around it. A lot of people don't even take the time to learn what it is. So, do you mind giving like just a general explanation for the basic layman's language of what the stock market is?
yeah, basically, a stock market is the world of companies that you can invest into
Hmm.
that you believe either will do well, that you buy a lot from, or you just like in general. I saw online actually a really good quote, and I think it applies to me especially because when it does come to spending, I think Amazon is a big thing for me that I spend a lot of money in. Is the same amount of money that you're spending to buy things from Amazon, you should
Hmm.
probably invest into Amazon the same amount. And I think that's a good rule of thumb. If you have a company that you see you're constantly buying from, why not also invest in it? Get some money
Right.
back from the money that you're also putting in. So
That's pretty smart, actually. That's really interesting. So then I can tell definitely that you have, like, I feel like you're mentally like locked in to smart investments and figuring out how money can work for you, which is something that is not common, by the way. I feel like we all have this either saving mentality, because it's what most people were raised on, like, you need to save money and then spend big to show that you have success. And that's what kind of puts a lot of people in debt traps, what puts a lot of people in financial struggle and financial stress. So, what is like the mindset that you really need to, how do you, because I feel like everything starts with mindset, right? So, how do you put yourself into the mindset to actually have good money practices?
yeah, I think personally in terms with me with my investment goals and what I'm doing, I believe this could be controversial that in your 20s you should be aggressive
Mm,
with your investments. Obviously, it's nice to save all your money and keep it in something that's earning 4%, 5% a year. But I think that's too safe personally for me, for the age I'm at. I think that
mhm.
right now, especially with how young we are, why not explore different options that are aggressive that we could get bigger returns on? And the quote, scared money don't make money.
Yeah.
So um, I just think it's important to diversify. I'm not saying go all out, throw all your money in a meme coin crypto and then lose it all the next day. But I think that it's important to try to maximize the return on investments that you can at this age, for sure.
Mm. Yeah, that is fair because I feel like we have a lot less responsibilities nowadays, like with this age. Like most people don't have kids. You don't really have like your number one dream career as yet, or you haven't reached your peak where you have like a bunch of different responsibilities and bills and stuff like that. So it is easier to take a lot more risks now. But then how do you manage your like how do you balance your risks so you don't go too risky trying to get like quick gains or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that just depends on how aggressive you're willing to be. Obviously, there's low risk. You could, like I said, stay in a savings account that's earning you 4 or 5% a year. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. There's, a medium risk where you could try branch out into different stocks, different index funds, and then obviously the high risk profile where you could
Mhm.
try crypto, crypto and staying in your basic indexes. I think that is just personal preference. I also
Mhm.
think that you were saying that sometimes like crypto and stock can get bad looks and the
Yeah.
propaganda behind it. I think a lot of that is just uneducated people that entered the field and things went wrong.
Mm.
And for example, I would say, like with crypto, some people see, oh, I can go throw $200 into a coin that says Rismus and it'll make me $3 million overnight.
Yeah.
The reality is that's not going to happen. And maybe it would, but you'd be at 0.01% chance. So I just think that a lot of people put their money into things that they're not researching beforehand
Mhm.
and end up getting wrecked. And then they say, oh, crypto's a scam. Oh, the stock market's a scam, this, and this. But in reality, they didn't do enough research and got into garbage coins or garbage stocks
Mm.
that really just ended up hurting them in the long run.
But what is the research you need to do then? Like what because I feel like a lot of people don't even know where to start. Because a lot of people who kind of talk about the stock market and talk about investments and stuff are people who are already in it. Like they're doing it, they know things, but and they tell people how to do what they're doing whilst they're doing it, but they don't really talk about how to start. So when you want to like invest in a stock, let's say you want to invest in not really Amazon, but maybe something else that you're not really sure about, how do you research it to know, is this really a good investment for me to make and how much should I invest?
I think doing your own research in terms of, I mean, the internet's
Mm,
huge now. We've got AI, we've got all these different things. Me personally, when I was first getting into stocks, I was listening to podcasts, I was using Google searches on Robinhood. It's an American based uh, investment app, but a lot of the stocks and the companies, they have pretty big, long descriptions describing what the company is, when it was founded, what they believe in. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of research and decide for yourself what you want to invest in.
hmm
Personally, like I said, I used a lot of podcasts. That was really big for me and still is. Right now, I'm listening to the Crypto Trends podcast. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
I have
com-
actually.
comes out every Wednesday. I think it's very informative, and a lot of those people that are making the podcast have been in the field for years. So
hmm
I think that's a great starting point.
What's crazy is I actually I started listening. I don't know if you listen to them, but I know you follow them on Instagram. The Market Hustle podcast. I
I
started
do
listening to
follow. I
them.
didn't know they had a podcast.
Yeah, they
They
have a
have one.
podcast. I actually
Really?
listen to their podcast all the time.
Oh
I've
wow!
learned
I'm gonna
so
start
much.
listening to that. I did not know
Yeah.
that at all.
Yeah, with like Buffy and Josh and all of those people. I have been listening to them because they kind of give very good information that is good for when you're starting out. And
Yeah,
then they give like really super detailed information like the S&P 500 and all these different things. So it's actually quite cool. So I think that's a really good set of advice, actually. Yeah.
I'm gonna take a peek at that. When do they come out for the episodes? New episodes?
To be honest, I actually don't know. I think they do it randomly.
Yeah.
I think they genuinely just post randomly because I don't think they posted last week because I was looking,
Okay.
but I
All right.
could be wrong. But I know that they post regularly, but it's random, I think.
Yeah.
So, what do you think are like, if you had to pick the top terrible financial practices or worst practices that you see most people making, especially at this age, what would you say they are and like why are they so bad?
I would say number one, just because I am in the sports field,
Okay.
is sports betting. I think sports betting is absolutely terrible. Um, Obviously, if you know you have things that you like to do, and you bet on a game or so, you bet $10 or $20 every once in
Yeah.
a while just to enjoy the game. That's fine. I'm not saying like don't enjoy your life, don't do that. That's stupid. But more often than not, people that are sports betting are betting either every day or every single week on numerous games with a
Hmm.
lot of capital on things that are basically up to chance. It's a gamble.
Yeah.
I think personally, um, you might as well just throw that either into an index fund, into a crypto that you really like, or if you want to gamble by sports betting, might as well gamble on a meme coin.
Mm.
Maybe you'll wake up to $1,000 from that $100. I just think there's better ways to use it,
Yeah.
and that's one that I just don't think makes sense personally.
Yeah. Makes sense. I feel like gambling in and of itself is always the one that people kind of shy away from because it's so volatile. Like it's people say the stock market is volatile, but it's like a controlled volatility. But
Hmm.
gambling is really just like up in the air. Like you can just do anything.
Very hit or miss.
Yeah,
Very.
it's super, super hit or miss.
And don't get me wrong, I've been there. I've been the sports betting guy, so I know from experience. I'm not frowning on it like I wasn't doing it. I was doing it.
How long before you realize that this ain't it?
Uh, at least like 2 weeks. It wasn't that long,
Okay, okay. I thought
but
you were gonna say like 2 years.
no, 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 no. Like two
Okay.
weeks, and then I was in and out pretty quick. So,
Okay. Any other terrible practices that you've seen? Or is it like you just got it all together?
um, for me personally, I think that was the biggest one.
Mm,
It's the sports betting. I mean, I think every guy gets into it at some point,
yeah.
and you either come out of it or you stay in it. I ended up coming out of it, so for the
Mm.
better. But yeah, I think sports betting is my biggest one. How about you?
Me, oh gosh. I feel like okay, so if you have just like a regular job and you get like a payday, I don't know, the 25th of every month, people get really excited when they see money in their bank account. And then it's like the saving mentality is still there, but it's a lot lessened. And people just want to like buy things, you know? It's kind of just like giving a kid candy and they don't know what to do with it because there's no real control because you don't have the education to know how to manage your money. So budgeting or not budgeting, I don't know. I'm always like on the fence about it. Like I don't know whether people should because sometimes over budgeting isn't a good thing and then other times like budgeting is great and it's actually a very good practice. But I think when people are given a lot of money, sometimes they don't know what to do with it or they get too frugal with it and they just save so much that they're not actually really gaining anything.
Hmm.
So it's really about finding the balance between those two things for me.
No, I agree with that. I think I actually struggled with that a lot at the start
Yeah.
um, of my career, especially just because I remember mentioning earlier in the podcast that I was researching stocks and stuff
Mm,
in freshman year of college, but I didn't actually have any capital to put into it.
right.
So once I started receiving income and your money sitting there in the bank, you're kind of like, oh, well, I have money now, maybe I'll go
Yeah.
buy this, I'll go buy that. And I have a savings account, but the issue that I had was the savings account and the checkings account, they're right there. So it's easy to just kind of, take it
Yeah.
out.
Just
You
dip
know,
in.
I'll just take a little bit more out. It's
Yeah.
fine. So I knew I had to come up with a plan, and that was obviously getting into stocks and the index funds into a separate app from my banking account, so that it's not so easy to just kind of maybe I'll take an extra 50, $100 out, use it today.
You literally
But
can't anymore.
yeah, you can't do that. So,
Yeah. I think that's something that I'm trying to get with right now. So like for me, when I first got my first job, I was super frugal. Like I was not about spending anything. I mean, my first job was like super humble. I think I was bottom of the line in terms of the hierarchy at the place, just starting out cafe waitress. And I was being paid like minimum wage. And I didn't want to spend anything. Like if I didn't bring lunch that day, I would starve until I went home because I didn't want to like I didn't want to spend like the $5 to buy fries or something. And I could have, like I fully could have, but like, I was very frugal. And then a few months, went by and I was like, well, I've got like money now. Like I've got bare money in my bank account. I'm just going to spend like a little bit here and there. And then I got on the spending kick, not like on big things. I just spent it on food or on outings with friends or like a treat here and there. And I got into the habit of not checking my bank account. Like I just didn't check anything because I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know at all. And then I think there was this one time where I had to transfer money to someone. So I had to go into the bank account to like do the transfer. And I saw that it went down to like double digits. Like it was less than $100. And I was like, fuck.
ah,
Yeah. I was like,
the worst
what
feeling.
happened? That was 3 months of work.
Ah, and I think that's why it's always important to have a plan because I've
Yeah.
been in the same situation uh, where you're like being so frugal with your money, and there's obviously you want to live below your means, but
Hmm.
to an extent. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people our age get to a point where they're letting money control them because at that
Yeah.
point your money's controlling you. If you can't, at the end of the day, making money, you're supposed to enjoy the
Your
fruits of
life.
your labor
Right.
to an extent. So that's why I think that having a plan for what your income is and setting it in place no matter what, that way
Hmm.
you save yourself the headache of one, skipping lunch and not eating something. I did it
Yeah.
too, trust me. And two, overspending.
Yeah.
Once you have a plan set in place, your income comes in, you're like, okay, boom, this goes here for bills,
Hmm.
put this aside, this is what I have to enjoy myself
Yeah.
and make it realistic. And I think that, and I'm sure you'll agree, saves you a headache down the road
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
It definitely
So,
does. It really does. Because then I don't have to stress about it. So that's why I feel like now also, automatic investments is a really good thing for me as well because I still don't really like to check it, but because I don't, if I'm having like a month where I have a lot of things to spend on, but I still want to put like a portion of it in investments, if it's just me having to make that choice, I'm not going to want to take however much I want to put into investments and do it manually because it's like, well, I know I have to spend all this money this month and maybe I'll just save it. And then it just becomes like a habit and I'm no longer putting anything into investments anymore. I'm just spending and going paycheck to paycheck. So now I've got like a system where no matter what, I have that however much percentage, whether it's 5%, 10%, 20% of my monthly income going straight into investments before on like the first of the month before I can even do anything. And then I can see, okay, this is what I have to spend. And some of it goes into savings as well automatically. So it's like kind of the account budgeting for me without me having to manually do it every month and have the psychological aspects of, oh, I want to spend it on this or oh, I don't want to spend it on investments or savings this month, having to stop me. So it's
mhm.
kind of just like stopping yourself, trying to just making money work for you, not just physically, but psychologically as well.
No, 100%. I think that's super important, the automatic investments, because then you know that whatever is coming into your account, that's yours now. That's
Yeah.
that's what you can decide what you want to do with that for however long your pay period is, the month or the 2 week biweekly period.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and it just goes back to that point about the psychological part about money. I think so many people, it's hard not to. It's your money, like getting attached to it.
Yeah.
And, that's your whole life. It shouldn't be your whole life. Have a plan for it, set aside some, enjoy the rest. It's
Yeah.
that simple.
Quick question though. So like I think another thing, so the stock market is one thing where people are kind of have mixed views about it. But then the other thing that I find people have a lot of mixed views about is entrepreneurship. Because when you do startups, when you talk about like starting your own business or kind of going against the grain and not working for the man and making money work for you, but you're working for yourself at the same time, it's there's you can succeed or you can fail really badly, you know? And it's very hit or miss as well. And you just started your own little business,
I
didn't you?
did. I did.
You
I did.
did.
I did.
So what prompted you to do that?
Um, just basically having some form of a side hustle.
Right.
Uh, Obviously, I'm an athlete. I train in the morning, and then
Hmm.
I have the rest of the day to just sit at home, do nothing. My
Hmm.
entire first year, I'd come home, play video games, play Warzone, hang with the guys. And
Yeah.
this year, I was just kind of like, you know what? I have all this extra time. Why not try start a business that
Hmm.
can benefit others and myself and take up a big chunk of that free time? So yeah, that is why I started it.
Hmm.
It's going good so far.
What is the business though? Because I know it's
It's a
called Quick Picks Good, right? Goods, right?
Yeah, it's a e-commerce business.
Okay.
Right now, it's Christmas themed. We're
Oh.
selling Christmas drawstring bags, alternative to traditional gift wrapping.
Hmm.
Eventually, I do want to rebrand the store. What it's going to be might be with my pup that I got. My new pup might be a pet store. Might be
Cute.
something soccer specific, to be determined. But yeah, I think it was just important for me to start that, and I'm super excited about it. So
Yay. I'm looking forward to it. Everyone should go check it out, please. Obviously. I think you have like Black Friday. Well, wait, by the time this comes out, I think Black Friday will be gone.
Black
But
Friday will be gone, but our
Black Friday will
holiday
be gone.
sale is still up. So go take a peek.
Love. Okay. So everyone go check that out. I'll probably tag it in the show notes as well. So it'll be really easy to go find it. Do you think like side hustles is kind of I'm a very big believer in side hustles because I think especially side hustles that give you passive income because you don't want to
Hmm.
be working yourself to death is my
Yeah.
mentality. What do you think about side hustles?
No, I totally agree. I think they're a great thing, just like you said, for the passive income, especially if you got that extra time that
Mhm.
you're sitting at home sometimes you're just bored. You might as
Yeah.
well put your time to making money, especially
Yeah.
while you're young and you have energy to do it. So I think patience is definitely a thing that comes hand in hand with it, though, especially for this drop shipping business that I started. Starting out, I was like, oh, this will be so easy. I can just, make my own website and then I'll get a bunch of traffic and everyone will
Mhm.
come buy my stuff. No, not how it worked.
Yeah.
Takes time, takes effort and patience. So, yeah.
No, that's such a big thing. I feel like I related to that so much even though I'm in a completely different industry
What
cuz
are what are what are you, what's your side hustle right now?
it's podcasting.
Podcasting. Okay.
Podcasting, but then also freelance social media management as well.
Okay.
So
Nice.
yeah, so I just started kind of marketing myself as a freelance social media manager to people or small businesses in the area. So I just managed their social media, got my first client. So
Woo! Let's
yeah,
go.
so after this, I literally have to go make content for them. But
Hey, I
um,
like that.
thank you, thank you. And then the podcast, I mean, that one was surprisingly a lot easier because it's super quick. Like you can just go straight to them and say, "Hey, do you want this service?" And they say yes or no. So like about how you pitch yourself, which is a lot easier than starting something from scratch and like building it up so that other people just around the world can see it, which is
Hmm.
similar to what you're doing and then also what I'm doing with the podcast. So the podcast at the time of filming is not monetized, you know,
Hmm.
but we're trying to work our way up to something like that.
Yeah.
And like you, when I started, oh my God, I thought it was going to be so easy. I thought it was going to be so chill. Like anybody that listens to a podcast in your mind, it's like you just pull out the mic and start talking and, that's it. You probably just post it. No. No, it's not that at all.
Much, much, much harder.
Yeah, it took me like 2 months to even prep to before this actually got done. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but I think once it's something that you like is the most important thing. I think people look a lot for get rich quick schemes, especially when
Hmm.
it's side hustles. You have to make sure that it's something that you actually enjoy, something that you think is sustainable for yourself. Like you can see yourself doing this long term, no matter how stressful it gets or no matter how much work you have to do. It's something that you actually want to be doing, you
No,
know?
100%. And that also just goes back to the whole business aspect of things, with the whole get rich quick scheme that you just mentioned. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people, they're either not willing to wait or they're not willing to invest in their own business.
Mm.
For example, I see a lot of headlines on YouTube sometimes. It's like, oh, especially for a drop shipping business, it'll be like, oh, how can I spend $0 or $5 and make a
Oh yeah.
multi-million dollar drop shipping business?
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like if you're not willing to invest in your own business, invest in your own podcast,
Mhm.
take the time to find people to come on your podcast, etc. How
Yeah,
do you think that other people are going to invest their time into, looking at
exactly.
what you're doing? It's not realistic. It's not a good correlation at all.
Yeah. And I think with everything that we talked about today, it's like whether it's drop shipping businesses or starting your own business in general, or if it's investments, it's consistency that really matters. So
Hmm.
you have to like you have to stick with it and then you'll start to see the gains, you'll start to see the growth. But if you just go in expecting to have returns immediately, you're just going to get disappointed or
Hmm.
you're just going to get yourself in a worse situation if you're not careful.
For
So yeah.
sure.
Okay, so do you have any last words for the audience today? My
Um,
amazing guest.
Check out our holiday sale, 35% off right now, all the way up to Christmas. So check it out while it's still there before we rebrand in 2025. Quick pick
Love.
goods.
Quick Pick Goods. You heard it here first. Well, you probably didn't hear it here first, but you've heard it here as well. So make sure to go check that out. And I think that's all we have for today, guys. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on
Thank
and
you for
being,
having me. It was a
yeah, of
pleasure.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was awesome. And now I'm gonna do my own little annoying self-plug promo. If you enjoyed the Notes and Quotes podcast, you can check us out on basically everywhere. We're on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and that's it. Video exclusively on YouTube. But if you want to engage with us, it's best to get to us on the Instagram. But you can keep up to date with us on any of those platforms. And if you want more of the Notes and Quotes podcast, make sure to tune in every Tuesday. If you want more of me, you can check me out on Instagram at Naomi A. Cambridge. If you want to know more about Brandon and his big prolific football career and his side hustles and all of his stuff, you can go check him out on Instagram. I think it's just Brandon Cambridge, isn't it?
At Brandon Cambridge. Two E's
Right.
on the Cambridge.
Right, exactly. Which will also be tagged in the show notes along with Quick Picks Goods. So you guys have no excuse. Anyway, love you all. We'll talk to you guys next Tuesday. Bye.
Signing off.
See ya.